Hello my dears and welcome to another session of my ongoing tarot prediction series about the 2020 presidential elections in the US. And as I had already promised and as many of you have requested, I will today be doing a session about the chances of Bernie Sanders now that we know the results of Super Tuesday. And I feel I need to apologize because I had promised this for last week, but unfortunately last week I was ill, so I couldn't do it. But don't worry, it's not COVID-19, it's just something a lot more mundane, and I'm feeling much better today. So nothing's stopping me from doing that spread. And naturally there will also be spreads about the chances of Joe Biden and unnaturally of Donald Trump as soon as I can do that. But today we will look into the chances of Bernie Sanders. Now, before I get started, let me say a big thank you to all of you who subscribed to my channel in the past couple of weeks and who were kind enough to write me all those nice comments and suggestions that make me very happy. So keep that up because there's a lot more fascinating stuff to come. And talking about fascinating stuff, there's something that I would like to ask you, and that would be what else, inside and outside of politics, would you like me to make predictions about? And if you have inspiring suggestions to make, and I'm sure you have, just write to me and I'll gladly do predictions about whatever it is that interests you the most. And also, tada, I'm now doing private sessions, which means, or rather private readings, which include in-depth analysis and predictions about any burning topic you might want clarity about. And so if you're interested in one of those, don't hesitate to write to me under the email address that you can now see on the screen, and I will give you the details. Okay, so now without any further ado, let's delve into today's session about Bernie Sanders. I've already shuffled the cards to imbue them with the Bernie Sanders spirit so that we can get started, and as usual I'm using my, I always want to say Mystic Tuesday, no, they're called Mystic Monday tarot cards, and as usual I'll be spreading them out in the classic Celtic cross spread, and I shall complement that by my Dakini Oracle cards, which I have spread out earlier today. So yeah, let's get started. So my dears, here we are. This is the Celtic cross spread for Bernie Sanders' chances to win the 2020 presidential elections. As you can see, I've modified the spread of the cards a bit here on the right side so as to be able to show them all on camera. And now let's see what we can see here. First of all, what we can see here is that the guy is a lot more sensitive than he likes to let on, and he's a lot more shaken by what has been happening to him in the past couple of weeks than he would like the outside world to know. I mean, the first thing that catches our attention is the Tower card, which tells us the story of what it was that has been happening to him in the past couple of weeks, which is quite simply that and this probably sounds a bit dramatic, but the edifice of his life has come crashing down. He was very successful in the first round of elections held in the first couple of federal states, but he hasn't been able to replicate that success on Super Tuesday, as we all know, and it would seem that this has affected him a lot more than he would like to show to the outside world, because what we can see here is the Chariot in reverse. This card represents his conscious feelings about the situation that he's in right now, but it's something that he doesn't necessarily show to others. It's something that he would like to conceal from the outside world, and which is that his confidence is really shaken. Unfortunately, this is confirmed by the card that we see here, which is Six of Swords. This card shows us one of the current energies that is now dominant in his life, and that energy that is now dominant in his life is a sense of being at sea. You know, he feels like his power to steer his ship into the right direction has been taken away from him, and he feels he's completely powerless, and he doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't have firm ground under his feet. Very unpleasant sort of situation psychologically, and it's certainly quite devastating for someone who was running for President of the United States, where obviously confidence in yourself is the key factor. This is also confirmed by the card that we see here, which is the Six of Cups in reverse. This card is on the position that shows us what he consciously thinks about the situation that he's in right now. His view of his current situation isn't very positive because he feels utterly disappointed. For him, running for President of the United States is a dream come true. He really wanted that, and he's been wanting it for a very long time. And yet again, he feels that it has come to nothing, and that he has failed. He's trying to mend the situation by finding a new way to communicate with the outside world. What we can see that represented by this card, Ace of Swords, which holds the position of how does his environment influence him, or how does he influence his own environment. And intuitively, I would say he doesn't quite understand how it could have happened that he was so successful at first and then wasn't able to keep it up, and he's now struggling to find a new way to deal with the outside world, particularly through the way that he communicates with it verbally. How he gets his ideas across, and also. Paradoxically, he seems to be one of those people who are spurred on by failure, which is actually a good thing. We can see that in this card, Ten of Pentacles, which is one of the two main influences that he now feels in his life. The Ten of Pentacles obviously is one of the best cards for success in any walk of life that you can get in this entire spread, and he feels that despite the fact that his confidence has been shaken, not everything is lost, and he still has a lot to give, and he wants to convince as many people as he can that the new way that he proposes for the nation is the right one. And at the same time, he's very aware. We can see that in this card, the World. He's very aware of just how important these presidential elections are, both for the nation and for his political career. Intuitively, I would say that he feels that if he doesn't make it this time, he's not going to try again, which makes it all the more important for him, obviously, to be successful this time. And also, he's, despite the fact that his confidence has been shaken, and despite the fact that he feels disappointed, he's still optimistic about the future, and he still thinks that things will turn out well for him, in the sense of that the question of success or failure is one that really depends on him. If he believes in his own success, then he will be successful, and if he believes in his own failure, then he will fail. This is what the card Queen of Pentacles tells us. So to sum it all up, it's a bit of a paradoxical situation. On the one hand, he's very shaken, he's very disappointed, and his confidence is at a very low point. And he's also struggling to come to terms with the situation, and he's struggling to find a way to better communicate. So he's feeling very insecure, yet at the same time he's feeling wonderful because he feels that he has got a lot to give, and he thinks that the future is full of promise for him. And he also feels that this entire campaign is very, very important, not just for the nation, but also for the future of his own political career. So will all of this be enough to make him successful in the future? Now, unfortunately, and I can already see that I've been losing quite a lot of my subscribers and my supporters, but I'm bound to tell you the truth here, and not bound to tell you what I would like to hear or what you would like to hear. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that way, because what we get in the near future is the Eight of Swords. What the Eight of Swords tells us is that he's in a situation where he could move forward any time, but he feels paralyzed. Now, why does he feel paralyzed? In order to be clear about that, I drew another card as a clarifier, and that turned out to be the Fool. Now, the Fool in this respect tells us that, or the Fool in this context tells us that in order to be successful, Bernie Sanders would have to try something completely new. But unfortunately, that's not his strong point. His strong point is that he's very honest and he's very upright and he's very clear about what he wants and what he doesn't want, but he's not very good at communicating it in a way so as to avoid misunderstandings and so as to win enough people over. Probably he feels that if he it's basically it's a problem of communication style, intuitively, what I would say is that he feels like if he changes his style of communication so that people can understand better what he actually wants for America, he would be betraying them, and he would be betraying himself. So in a sense, he's too honest and too upright, and it seems that he can't find his way out of that particular pattern of behavior, because unfortunately we come into a situation characterized by the Ten of Wands, which means that everything will become harder and harder and more difficult. He will have to fight every step of the way, and people will go on attacking him and probably misrepresenting what he's actually saying to a degree where his campaign, unfortunately, comes to nothing. And I wanted to clarify for this too, so I drew another card which turned out to be Knight of Cups. Now, Knight of Cups intuitively is representative of one of his competitors. I don't know yet whether this represents either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. In any case, it represents a personality that is able to easily relate to people through on the emotional level. However, relating to people on an emotional level is crucial for winning the elections. So I have to say, if you are a Bernie Sanders supporter, unfortunately, I have to disappoint you with today's card spread, because right now his chances of winning the election are not good. However, do not despair, because it's only March, and obviously I'll be doing another update as the time goes by. But for today, this is all that I can tell you about Bernie Sanders' chances in the 2020 elections. It's all that the tarot cards have to tell us about it. Yet, as I said, I'll be complementing that by a card spread that I did earlier today with my Dakini Oracle cards, which I'm getting now. So let me first put the tarot cards away. And so let us take a look at the spread of the Dakini Oracle cards that I did this morning. Now, the first card that we see is the Temptation card in reverse, which means that in the past couple of weeks, Bernie Sanders has felt the temptation of actually dropping the whole campaign altogether and standing down, calling it quits. He's been seriously thinking about that, but and he's been asking himself the question, what is my life going to be like if I continue with this campaign? What is it going to be like if I stand down? What is more worthwhile? Where's the plus? Where's more of a plus value for myself? And eventually he decided that it would be a good idea to go on with that campaign, yet not necessarily with his eyes on becoming the next president of the United States, but there might be ulterior motives why he's going on with his campaign. And when I say ulterior motives, I don't mean that in a negative sense at all. It could be that he simply feels it's a good idea to present himself as an alternative to the present, let's say, to the political climate that is characterizes the present administration of the United States, even if he doesn't win the election. At the same time, of course, if you're, generally speaking, if your intentions are unclear, if you are unclear about why you're doing something, you will have a hard time actually reaching that goal. So I personally find that a bit problematic, but obviously that's for Bernie Sanders to decide. In any case, his decision is a firm one. We can see that in Tree Spirit Yakshi. He meaning Bernie Sanders, has pulled himself together. He has now made that decision. I will go on with my campaign, and he feels very grounded, and he's marching in that direction, and he doesn't look back. So he's very serious. He's very serious about going on, and that's obviously a very good thing, and that will also assure him the support of his base, which is obviously very important. Yet the problem is, as represented by Mercury in reverse, and we already saw that in the Celtic card spread. Bernie Sanders' difficulty lies in communication. He finds it, although he's very clear about his ideas and about his convictions and so on, he finds it difficult to communicate them to the electorate in a way that he actually succeeds in winning them over. He's simply not good at communicating, and he should change his communication style. But unfortunately, I cannot see that he's doing it. So the end result is represented by this card, Blow Your Mind, in reverse, which means that here is someone who has the ability to blow our minds by his personality and by the force of his convictions and by his ingenious ideas. But unfortunately, he fails to do so. As I said, quite simply because he has difficulty in communicating. So that quite a lot of people will go on believing the image that the media have created of Bernie Sanders rather than actually listening to what Bernie Sanders really says. Here, as in in the Celtic crossbreeds, unfortunately, his prospects of winning the elections right now are not particularly good. But as I said, I'll be doing another update soon, and all of this can change, and I'm sure it will change, because obviously it's difficult to make long-term predictions when it comes to a thing like a presidential campaign, because it's such a chaotic and fast-moving process that you simply cannot make predictions that last for more than a couple of weeks. Not if you are serious about the business of laying cards, and I hope that I am that. Yes, so my dears, this is what I can tell you about our today's topic. And I hope that I will see you soon again when I'll be doing an update on Joe Biden and on Donald Trump. And in the meantime, I wish for you to have a very good time and to be successful and healthy, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.